everyone. Welcome to Around 2021. I am Daniela Paredes, co-founder and CXO of Gravity Sketch. During these 2 days, we will be celebrating that we think in 3D and we create in 3D. We're living in a point in time where 3D digital design has not been easier, fun, and creative. We're also living in a moment really important in the design industry where we understand that we don't have a one-size-fits-all design process, that we choose the tools that we need to use to be able to create and express ourselves. We use the tools do not use us. We're also living in a change of paradigm. Things are changing. We're starting to understand that design is not just done by designers, that it is a collaborative journey that involves many voices, and that these voices sometimes speak different languages. During these 2 days, you will be listening to industry leaders and creative professionals that will be walking us through the journey that they've gone through in adopting 3D digital design and creation, and how they're bringing all of these different voices into the conversation. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. And on behalf of Gravity Sketch, thank you very much for being here. For the first talk, I'll like to introduce our CTO and lead designer, our CTO Daniel, and our lead designer Gokcen Keskin to the talk. And so we'll be talking about Gravity Sketch's design philosophy and how we think about design and engineering here. Welcome, Daniel and Gokcen. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I can go first. I'm Daniel, as I think we've said that name 4 times in a row now, but I joined Gravity Sketch like 7 years ago or something when we were working on a baby iPad app, and it's crazy how far we've come. It's super exciting to see like our first conference, and I'm looking forward to everyone's talks.
Hello, I'm Gokcen. I'm the lead designer at Gravity Sketch. I joined, it was last year during pandemic, and I'm based in Helsinki, Finland. It's been great so far working at Gravity Sketch. I'm so happy we have this conference now. I'm so excited about all the talks, and yeah, looking forward to hearing opinions about everything. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you for being here. And I think we have a little guest here yeah, Jan, can you turn your video off, or Jaren, can you help us with that? And just before we start the talk, I would like to welcome Jaren, who is our community manager into the talk. You'll be listening, you know, his name quite a while during these 2 days. He's going to be behind the scenes, making sure everything is working well. He has been a big part of organizing everything. So welcome, Jaren.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and can't wait to see just the amazing talks and just the incredible speakers that we're going to be having over these 2 days. And I just want to thank you all for joining and coming with us on this journey, on this debut event. So it's an honor to host you all.
Thanks, Jaren. All right, well, without any further ado, let's kick this off. Gokcen, you want to do the honors? All right, so the Gravity Sketch design philosophy. I think it's important to start first by understanding why are we even doing this? Why do we even care about people creating spatially? And it is because every single designer, every single person that has to have an idea in 3D, that has to design 3D products, 3-dimensional ideas, 3-dimensional spaces, we've always been dreaming about being able to create in space, because it's actually the most intuitive way that we have to create, because that's how we live as human beings. We interact with space, we move with space. And so, like, if you go to the previous one, Gokcen, please. And so, you know, this is not something new. Everyone has been thinking about it. And you can see here in this picture, even Picasso was thinking about like designing in space and sketching in space, only that he was doing it with light as opposed to doing it with some other tool like Gravity Sketch. I wish Picasso was like alive right now and we could see what he could do with Gravity Sketch. We'll just have to imagine it. And so this has been something that everybody has been thinking. And why is this? Because we think in 3D and we want to create in 3D. So at some point in life, we decided that we wanted to do something about it some years ago. And we decided that we wanted to enable people and empower people to think in 3D and create in 3D. We wanted to enable them to create and communicate three-dimensional ideas in the quickest and most intuitive way possible, almost as if they were pulling the idea out of their head. If we could be reading minds, maybe that's what we would be doing. Right now we can't, so Gravity Sketch is the best way to go. Next. And so during during the entire process that we follow for developing Gravity Sketch, for designing for Gravity Sketch, for creating the tools that you have available right now, there's a really deep process that goes behind it to truly understand what happens in people's minds when they're going through a creative process. We try to understand holistically what is happening with people in different moments of their lives, in different moments when they need to be creative, when they're not creative, and also different types of creatives, like how do you create in space? And this is what we are truly interested on. And so I'll give you a couple of examples of how we do this. One really important, now if you go before, one really important example is this theory, which is a theory of multiple intelligences by Howard Gardner. And so this is the backbone of quite a bit of our research. And so what we see here and what we got inspired by this theory is that this theory says that we all have 9 different intelligences, spatial, kinesthetic, mathematical, and logical, and many others. And that people in the creative fields, or people that need to be actually thinking about three-dimensional ideas and concepts, need to have a strong spatial intelligence, or at least have access to something that allows them to have an easier access to spatial intelligence. And so this is one of the reasons why we're so focused on spatial creation and spatial intelligence. So this is kind of like a backbone for the entire experience that we're creating. Next. And a second example is, how do we get inspiration from other people that need to actually be creating in space as well, that might not be the obvious ones, like designers, architects, marketeers, like people that actually create three-dimensional products. And so we take inspiration from other areas. And this is a great example because we started studying how dancers sketch, or like how dancers create choreographies, and how do they take annotations for themselves. And there was something really interesting. We found that they also sketch. They doodle like very simple visual representations of the movements that they're going to be having in space to make annotations for themselves. And this is because as humans, sketching and doodling something is really important. So we take that as an inspiration, and we take that as something really key and important for the experience that we're going to be creating. So these are just 2 examples of how for us it is really important to understand how people think and create and communicate, and we put this into our experience. So next. And so from all of these different understandings, insights that we're gathering throughout our research, we have created our UX pillars, and these UX pillars are really important. And we try to always follow them because this is what allows us to make sure that Gravity Sketch stays true to what it's always meant to be, a really intuitive and easy and fun tool to use to communicate three-dimensional ideas. So the first one is immediacy, is if I have an idea in my head, I want to actually execute, like do something, do a movement, and that movement will have my action will have a reaction. And this allows me and allows my teammates to go into the creative flow, to really start exploring ideas without actually having to think about the tool. The second one is physicality. So we are physical beings, obviously, we live in the world, we interact with objects, we interact with spaces, with people, and we want to bring this into the Gravity Sketch experience, only that we want to actually combine, you know, the greatness and the intuitiveness of the physical world with the magic of the digital world, of course. And then the third one, which is kind of the most important, I would say, simple set of rules. And this one is basically making us make sure that Gravity Sketch and Landing Pad and the tools that we're creating are staying simple, because the simpler the rules, the simpler it'll be to understand them and actually know and work your way around them to actually create your own workflow. So, you know, keeping it simple, I can give you an example. Lego pieces that you can see here, they have one rule, right? Like stacking blocks one on top of the other. And that one rule allows children to actually make something with it, but you can also have artists creating amazing pieces with it. So this is like, these are the three kind of like pillars that allows us to make Gravity Sketch what you have experienced so far, and what it will continue allowing us to make an experience that it's truly focusing on the people using it to focus on what really matters, the things that they're communicating and creating and ideating, as opposed to thinking about the tool itself. So if you think about it, everything that I've just said has nothing to do with technology in a way. Technology is basically the medium that allows us to bring all of these experiences and to allow people to create and communicate three-dimensional ideas in the easiest way possible, in the most exciting way possible. And so, yeah, I'll just pass it to Gokcen to go a bit deeper into what actually, oh no, wait, I have one more slide. I forgot about that. So yeah, so basically, normally how you think about digital tools is like this. It's kind of like a very linear process, a process that, you know, you have one idea and you need to kind of like climb the ladder to execute and then finalize that idea. Actually, in Gravity Sketch, what we are building next, and we're trying to achieve is this: creating a space where you will go into the tool, have a space for you to ideate, to create, to communicate, to have conversations, to have a really rich space of ideation, a virtual studio where you can exchange ideas, and then eventually come out the other way with something truly unique. And now I can pass it over to Gokcen. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniela. And yeah, as Daniela said already, I'm going to go a little deeper and talk about how these philosophies Daniela laid out inform our design process, how they look in practice. And I will start with introducing the main goal to you, because this is no secret. All good design processes start with a very good definition of the problem. So this is what we set out to do. We want to empower 3D design teams. And when we say this, what we actually mean is we want to permanently change the way design is done. And that is a problem that we find worth solving. So the problem here, the design problem or the main goal mission, this is the anchor of our design process. We roam, but we are closely tied to our main mission, which helps us stay intentional and aligned with all our activities and thinking in our design process. And I'm going to also explain why do we think this is worth doing, because this is kind of a repetition, but I think it's worth repeating. We believe that the design process is flawed at this point, because we think in 3D. When we envision 3D artifacts, we do that spatially in our minds, but because of the we've had so far, we represent them in a 2D format. Even 3D modeling is done on 2D screens. And this causes, when we pay attention to how design is done in 3D design teams, This causes so much back and forth, and so much gets lost in translation. Not only when a creator represents their thought on a paper or screen, but also when interdisciplinary teams ideate, communicate their ideas to each other, because we know that design process involves different people from different disciplines who often has different levels of spatial understanding or competence over visual authoring tools. Now, I think we have a very good, well, hopefully a good understanding of the goal, the design problem. The next is, how are we going to achieve this goal? So we need to translate that goal into a deliverable. And I think doing this, we have developed some characteristics. We have an approach that is crafted over years at Gravity Sketch. It is a culture. It is a mix of opinions and practices all of our team members bring into Gravity Sketch, and things that we think that are working for us. Of course, it's ever evolving, but right now I think what we have here, what I have here, is still gonna give a good idea of our design style at Gravity Sketch. So the first characteristic of our approach I want to mention is how we define the deliverable here. How do we take that goal, the design problem of empowering 3D design teams, and turn that into a job for ourselves? Our deliverable looks more or less like this. We want to upgrade the workflow of our users, the 3D design teams. When we think of our job this way, rather than upgrading our tools, it helps us have this hyper focus on how people work, instead of maybe focusing on the tool itself, because the tools are at the end a means to an end. So they are the things that are in between the goal and us. So the real goal here is changing the design workflow. And this helps us to prioritize how we're gonna basically spend our time doing our work. We always prioritize the impact we can have in upgrading the workflow. And to be able to do that, we need to understand the workflow. And how we do that is we continuously interact with our users. Again, this is no secret to anyone who's familiar with design process. Everything in Gravity Sketch products has come from either our insights we generate by interacting with the design community, or directly from user requests. We pay close attention to their creation lifecycle, the steps that are involved, tools they use, rituals, habits they have, their motivations, pain points, everything. And since this is an integral part of our approach, we embrace and celebrate unintended uses of our designs. So this might sound a bit counterintuitive, but actually when you think about design works like that, there is no way you can imagine or plan for the possible uses. And users always are going to surprise you, which is the beauty of design. I think I find it very enjoyable. For example, the real-time collaboration feature in our VR app, it wasn't created with a very detailed description of how the use cases would look like. We just knew that people want to create an idea together, both designers and non-designers in the teams, and they do this in real time as well as asynchronously. So we created the feature with some loose use case descriptions and wanted to see what teams are going to make with it. And yeah, as I said, we always are surprised by how community uses our features, and then we learn from them by focusing on how they think with Gravity Sketch, how they craft those thoughts and do it collectively as a team. So another backbone of our design approach I want to mention is that we draw inspiration from real life. What I mean by this is we basically choose real life as our design guideline. We operate in an emerging tech domain, and it is often said in the industry that VR is this new field with no established guidelines or rules. But we like to think that even though VR or all our high-tech tools are new, things like creativity, work, collaboration, human behaviors, these are ancient phenomena. So platform guidelines and constraints are essential part of our work, but we first and foremost look at the rules of real life when we design. And I think this focus on real life also helps us pay attention to real life problems of our users. I mentioned earlier that we adopt this holistic approach to workflows of the teams, but we also pay attention to the things in our users' lives that are not necessarily directly related to the workflow. One example is when we were listening to our users over the last 1-2 years, understanding how the pandemic and the change in working conditions or environments has been a part of this. Understanding this well also is an objective or has been. The final important characteristic I want to mention here of our approach is the feeling of an experience that we create and how much we value it. We believe that good design is desirable. It needs to be desirable, or to be able to call a design good, I think the element of desirability needs to be there. As humans, we don't dress only to cover ourselves or eat food only to fuel our bodies. We care about joy and self-expression. And designing tools for teams that design calls for a particular sensibility for joy and delight. That is why when we design experiences, we value feelings and motivation as much as we value utility and usability. And finally, before I pass it over to Daniel, I want to briefly talk about the team that is on board with this mission and share this approach with us at Gravity Sketch. What kind of characteristics we aspire to have as individuals, also as a team. So we are very excited about creation tools and doing great work. We want to take pride in what we do. We are very versatile designers right now in the team because we want to be able to perform in different setups and can work on different kind of projects. Our team is very dynamic. We are capable of communicating our work to our other team members from different disciplines, because we know that finding that shared language between different disciplines is essential for a reason I will mention briefly soon. And also we always challenge the limitations of traditional concepts and embrace the constraints of our strategy, because having this many principles and rules also come with constraints that it introduces to our design problem, but we embrace these because, again, as referring back to what Daniela said earlier, simple rules actually improve creativity. So we believe that, and we apply that to our teamwork. And yeah, the reason communication is very, very important quality to our design team is, even though we designers own design-related activities at the company, we actually are aiming for making design a company-wide effort. So not only designers have this sensibility, but for example, engineers also care about user experience and experimentation, and everyone in the company cares a lot about user feedback all the time. But now our CTO Daniel is going to talk more about this.
Cool. Yeah. So I think a bit of what I wanted to talk about, it basically follows on from Gokcen. Like since the first version of Gravity Sketch, I think it was really clear to us that engineering and design cannot be these separate factions, separate teams like that hand off work to each other and communicate through like results-driven workflows and this kind of stuff. Like the rendering constraints of working with virtual reality, the lack of defined user experience, and like even just the deep technical challenges with doing all of this 3D maths and stuff like this makes it really hard to just deliver like the kind of experiences that a designer or even any user or anyone who's basically come up with an idea can imagine, it can be often quite difficult to achieve exactly that in reality. And so like it turns out that the solutions to the problems that we're trying to solve for users and customers are deeply linked with the technical challenges. And we don't have that many resources as like quite a small company. So we really have to figure out how to optimize the way that we do work and the way that we communicate to deliver like a really great experience to users at a pace and with a level of innovation that lets us like explore new ideas and explore like all the possibilities that we want to. Like often a tech innovation will open up a ton of new possibilities for design and for the experience in the app, but in the same way, so many features that we could build very easily are still trapped behind some kind of design innovation that allows us to unlock a way to solve those problems the only way I know to say it is a gravity sketch way, but like an intuitive, a fun, a way that isn't going to alienate people who aren't very technical, and kind of, we really don't want to steer the app in that direction that just has all the features because we can add all the features. Then you end up with tools like Blender where there's so many different buttons and keyboard shortcuts that while it's probably the most powerful tool on the planet, it can be quite difficult to access. And I'm definitely not saying we're perfect. We have a long way to go and a lot of design debt, but the way that we try and work helps us, just continuously iterate and improve and move forwards. And so what we're trying to do internally is structure ourselves as sets of product teams rather than like design and engineering teams, basically, and to really think of ourselves as colleagues working to solve the same user problem or user journey or workflow, rather than focusing on the tech or the design separately and keeping them, very closely linked together. Next slide. So our product is for designers essentially, although we're starting to expand that with some of the collaboration stuff. But the language of design is therefore like a really key part about what we're building. And so as we have a design team internally, it makes tons of sense to build that shared language and that shared understanding together. So that, when we talk about something, we can each understand each other and hopefully also understand the users better as well, and the people that want to use and create in Gravity Sketch. And so what we've tried to do from the very start is, foster an engineering team that cares about design and cares about the experience of Gravity Sketch. And, I think working in VR can be really fun and exciting. And so we didn't actually find it that hard. But it's something that we, even from the interview stage to, everyone's onboarding and the way they join the company, we give them access to the tools and to explore and to build things and really do deep dives on what's possible in Gravity Sketch. And in the same way, like the design team really care about the engineering and how we solve these problems and working with what we can do rather than what we can't do. It's very easy to end up spending 6 months bashing your head against a really difficult technical problem when one really clever idea could mean that we could solve that user problem much, much faster. And so because of that, next slide, we believe that like experimental mindset is super important to the way that we work and to the way that we kind of try things out and learn and explore and ideate on what could be possible and what the next version of Gravity Sketch might look like. And we get hundreds and hundreds of really great ideas and feedback from users and the community and customers and everyone, and we're always listening to those. And really often we'll see maybe a blog post or a piece of feedback or something really interesting that will inspire us to be like, hey, what if we did this? We might be able to solve this problem. And having that kind of hackathon style mindset and way of working is really important to even discovering if something that we previously thought we couldn't do is now possible, or even just a cool solution to a problem that we've never thought of before. And so like one thing that we implemented quite a long time ago now was what we call Innovation Day, which is 1 day a month, which is maybe quite a lot that's compared to some companies, but for us, I think it's about right. Where we basically just try and get together or separately and experiment and explore ideas that have come up during the last month and things that we think sound exciting or want to just see if it's possible or do a quick hack. And I think sometimes we get very precious about writing good code or having really greatly, like nicely designed features and having things actually work. And so I think the most important thing in that is that delivering an actual feature is completely optional and not the real goal. I think the real goal is learning and exploration and that kind of thing. And maybe just to generate a bit of excitement. Like a few of the cool things that came from it, or at least the one that comes to the top of my head, is the web viewer on landing pad. We built the first prototype of that in a day and realized, hey, this is amazing. We can now view our models on the website without opening up VR. And there's a long trail of potential things that we really want to do with that space too. But the next kind of segment of this talk is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show off some videos that I managed to collect from the engineering team and the product team of things that we'd kind of done experiments on and explored. It's a bit scary showing these because I don't want everyone to think these are features that we're about to add to the application. That's the big disclaimer. All of the ones that were good enough to make it into the app for whatever reason, technical or that, did. And some of the ones that, you know, you're going to see maybe one day will make it into the app, but maybe they won't. So I'm just trying to show, like, these are the cool ideas that we've been exploring based on the feedback, and hopefully it'll get people excited. And any comments and thoughts on these is super like encouraged, and we want to hear about it and maybe why these features may or may not be valuable for you. But yeah, the disclaimer is, like, there may be huge technical problems that make it hard for us to deliver these in real life. But if people show a strong signal that they want these things, then that could help motivate us to push through those barriers and that kind of thing. And naturally, obviously, these are the ones that didn't make it to the product. Yeah, that's just that's my disclaimer. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and share my screen, and hopefully this will work perfectly first time. This is the Zoom experience, so we'll see what happens. Okay, what am I going to do? Hold on. Okay, I certainly hope you can now see my screen. It definitely tells me that that's what's happening. So I have, what do I have? I have 8 different things to show. So I'm going to try and go through them relatively quickly. I have no idea how much time I have, to be honest. But is this in the way? Maybe let's get that out of the way. So if I'm going to play this video, this was a piece of feedback that I think we received quite a lot, and our engineer Lou decided to make a prototype of. The basic idea was that we could use images as color swatches and color libraries. And so I don't know if it's going too quickly, but the general idea is you can take one of your reference images and drag it into this new piece of UI, and it will grab all of the colors that are in that image and turn those into materials. And then you can pick that material and play around with it and use that in your sketch. And so if you had like a library in Photoshop of you know, all of the colors that you that you use for your designs or something like that, this would let you get access to them really quickly. This one's actually not that crazy technically, and we would like to deliver this one day. No promises. The next one I have, many people may have seen this one before. This was one that Will did. This was an experiment basically to bring like cloth simulation into Gravity Sketch. And so you can see with this magic wand tool, if he goes over and clicks on a piece of sub D, it will turn on like a cloth simulation for that object. And this is super cool, really amazing. I think, you know, while we're super excited for this, we have not figured out even close how we would ever deliver this as a real feature. But cloth simulation is something that a lot of people have asked for and a lot of industries have asked for. And so it's really interesting to explore, and I'm sure we'll explore it again someday. Yeah, unfortunately, this one's very difficult to actually make a build of and give to you guys, but this may happen one day. It's something we're playing around with, at least. I know a lot of people have asked for this. Another one of my favorites is this one. This one I kind of guess we call gravity in Gravity Sketch. So the idea is that rather than your objects kind of floating in space like magic with no gravity, we added gravity. And so everything that you draw could have like some kind of physics interaction, and you could, you know, construct things and build them and put them all together and have some fun with that, you know, build a little house or whatever it may be. Yeah, this one, I don't know. Again, there's lots of difficult implications of actually building it, but it's really fun to see. And so, you know, I wonder if there is some kind of simulation mode that we could have that would let you see how objects would fall on top of each other, you know, if they were given real gravity inside Gravity Sketch. Yeah, I'll let the video play out. I don't know if there's anything cool towards the end of it. Seems like we're just throwing things around. It's pretty fun anyway to try. And we're trying to deliver, like, give these experiments to people for them to try too, but at the moment it's really tricky. Another one, this one was one that's based on a lot of user feedback. The basic idea is that we have this keyboard and nobody likes the keyboard. So what if you could turn your controller into a microphone and talk to it? I guess I'm not actually sharing the sound right now, but you can imagine someone saying the words Gravity Sketch into the microphone. It's kind of appearing at the bottom of the screen. I don't know how obvious this is on the like for you guys, but basically having text input in Gravity Sketch would be really cool. And what if we could use that instead of the keyboard? Tons and tons of people have requested this, and I think it's something we're trying to do, but I have no idea when we would actually bring it out to the world. One thing that I have is unfortunately just an image. We don't have any footage of this whatsoever. Oh, I've just minimized it. This was an experiment for the iPad app, and basically we were just working on trying to bring ARKit into the iPad app. You know, ARKit is really cool to see your models in context of the real physical world. And so what if, you know, you could import your sketch into the iPad app and then just press a button and see what it would look like in the room. Maybe you've designed a car and you want to see it on the road, or a chair in your office, something like that. I think that's something, again, we really want to do, but haven't found the time yet. So you know, these experiments just let us explore and kind of get a taste of what's possible. The next one, we've got three more. This is a little one. This was something that Aidan worked on, which is like an image carousel. The idea was, what if, you know, you could just import an entire folder of reference images at the same time. It gives me some kind of like matrix feel or something like that. But the like animating them and giving you some kind of automatic environment where you can see a bunch of different bits of inspiration at the same time. Maybe moving around would be distracting, but it'd be a fun one to give to people and see how it feels. And then the last two, this is the one I actually tried this week. This is based on a bajillion user requests. And again, we really want to deliver, super excited to deliver. What if there was a web browser in Gravity Sketch? Again, it turns out there's tons of really tricky things to actually making this happen. You know, I think a lot of users want to either much more easily bring references or images into Gravity Sketch. I've seen requests to just listen to music and, you know, play some tunes while you're working, or have a video on in the background, or even watch tutorial videos and this kind of thing. And so while this prototype has many, many issues in the same way, I'd be really excited to get this to you guys one day. You know, you'd be able to load up YouTube and check out the tutorials that we have without having to, you know, or even someone else's tutorials, because right now we have a very limited set of videos that you can watch within the app. Yeah, that's the general gist of it. I'm sure you guys will have loads more use cases for this that I've never haven't even thought of yet. Again, this feature is not releasing soon. I am making no promises, but we do want to bring it out soon. And the final one is the one called generative geometry. So this was like a little tech experiment on, like, what if there was some way to just run some mathematical algorithm that would just morph or change your design in some way to give it a different feel. So again, we've got this like probe tool belt thing. That's where we put a lot of our experiments. And if you click on an object, it will morph it and change it and deform it in all sorts of weird ways using like probably different maths functions. And it would let you like just tweak and change your design. Maybe this isn't the most exciting algorithm. It just kind of makes it lumpy, I guess. But what if we could, like, you know, just add some randomness, add some like, it's very hard for a human to be random. So what if we could add some computer randomness to our designs? That was the kind of idea behind this. Yeah, it's kind of sad showing everyone all of these, because like all of them, I'm so excited that like one day we could make these features. We just haven't had the time or the resources to invest in it. Like a lot of the work that we've been doing lately has been much more focused on the collaborative nature and working together in Gravity Sketch, which is something that, you know, we're super excited about too. And hopefully you guys will get to try it soon, whoever hasn't got access to it. But that is unfortunately me out of videos. We have done tons and tons more stuff, like we do this every month. But unfortunately, for a long time, we didn't document these and make videos or builds or anything, and some of them have been lost to time. But I think even just looking back at this like small selection, I think we should definitely try and document these more. And it'd be really interesting to know if you guys would like seeing this kind of content on social media, or, you know, if it's interesting to see us publishing stuff that you may never get, but, you know, also may get one day if people want it a lot. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say. I think the only thing that's left now is for me to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to open up for questions, Q&A for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I mean, it's like those are all really great experiments, and as Daniel and Gokcen have said, it is all really coming from the inspiration of having really in-depth conversations with the people that are using Gravity Sketch or that want to be using Gravity Sketch and Landing Pad. And so we have kind of like this really close connection with our community. And this is kind of like the most important part of it all. Daniel has said it quite a bit, like in his talk, is that, you know, having that feedback and those insights from the people that actually want to be using these features is really important for us. And the ones that know us know that you're always having kind of like a direct line to everyone in Gravity Sketch, because we're always craving for more inspiration and for more things that we want to be trying. So do continue sending everything our way, because that's kind of like the fuel that, you know, keeps us moving at the fast pace as we move. All right, so let's move into Q&A. There's quite a bit of comments, so I'll try to read them. I think it's more comments than questions. Absolutely helpful, even if these ideas don't make it. It may give inspiration to other ideas. Yeah, definitely. I think it will be a great moment, Daniel, for you to say something about Booleans.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. Yeah, Booleans. I think Booleans, someone asked me the other day, what's the most requested feature in Gravity Sketch that we've never managed to build? And it's definitely Booleans. We've heard it time and time again, and we understand why it would make people's lives a lot better and easier. And we can totally see how it'd be super exciting in the workflow. It's just a really tricky piece of technology to deliver. Gravity Sketch, you know, has so many different kinds of geometry and so many different ways that the pieces of creation can interact with each other. It's really challenging, and so we can see a future where we can build Booleans, but we just haven't managed to do like the deep tech required to make it run in real time, to make nice models that, you know, we have to make this work on Oculus Quest, which is a mobile phone, glorified mobile phone, you know, that's on your face. And so like that sounds quite bad. The Oculus Quest is amazing, but in terms of like the tech power and performance, like running Booleans on a Quest is challenging. And so yeah, all I can promise is that we have heard it, and we know that everyone wants it, and we would love to deliver it, and one day we probably will deliver it, but it's really hard, and so it's going to take us time, and you're going to have to be very, very patient with us. And so in the meantime, we're working on all of this other stuff that we can do as well, to keep, you know, improving the workflow in other areas. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about it other than that. I apologize that it's not a feature yet, but yeah, there's too many things making it hard right now. But one day I would love to see Booleans in Gravity Sketch.
And then another one, what is the future of the iPad app? Are you looking to develop the iPad app as with the main VR app? I mean, something that I would say before I pass it over to Daniel or Gokcen, if they want to say something, is that we're always looking, and Gokcen mentioned it, we're always thinking about the entire ecosystem in which a person needs to be creating at. So, and different moments in life and different types of people that actually need to be having access to this creative work. And so for this reason, this is the reason why we have all of these different devices, kind of like helping the users come into Gravity Sketch and the landing pad ecosystem. It's because we know that creativity strikes not always when you're at your desk and have a headset on. You can always have kind of like, other moments in life where you actually need to be making something, or you actually need to be commenting on something. And so this is kind of like the direction that we're taking, and it's something that it's always in our minds. Like Gravity Sketch and landing pad are platform agnostic. Right now, you can see it in some parts of it in the web, some parts in an iPad, some parts in VR. But in reality, what we're looking to enable is for people to create and communicate three-dimensional ideas from anywhere, anytime. And I'll pass the mic to Gokcen and Daniel if they want to say something specific about the iPad app.
Yeah, maybe I can go first. I'm gonna echo what Daniela said just now. We definitely believe that we can do so much more with iPad. We have observed with the first version we created, we have observed some really solid use cases that both involves commenting but also authoring in iPad, and iPad or tablet as a form factor is with touch screen and being able to use the pencil is actually a great creator tool. We believe in that. But similar to what Daniel mentioned about Boolean, I think it just comes to limited resources at this point. We would have loved to spend more time and energy on that, but I think right now we'll let it out in the world, and we're observing and collecting feedback on how people are using it. I don't know, Daniel, if you want to add something to that.
I think that's pretty close to what it comes down to at the moment. We just basically found that it was so hard for us to work on both full applications at the same time that we've had to prioritize VR lately. But it's absolutely something we'll be revisiting and trying to upgrade and level up to get to the level of the VR app in the future.
Any plans on adding some parametric procedural options for primitive?
It's something that, yeah, it's a tricky one. It's something that we think sounds really cool, and we definitely want to do. The closest thing right now is we have the super ellipsoid primitive, which is like a slightly parametric primitive. But it's definitely something we don't have like super great support for right now in Gravity Sketch. And building some of those workflows would be cool. But I think even I don't have a very clear view of what that would look like in Gravity Sketch, or what the workflows would look like. So more information would really help, and like what softwares have this kind of stuff, this kind of thing would be really interesting on that topic.
Is there a professional area? And I think this, like, there are two questions that are like we could answer kind of like in connection. Is there a professional area that Gravity Sketch is trying to target next? And then there was another one around who makes the most out of, like, well, who is kind of like part of the Gravity Sketch community, basically. And I think those two are connected. So right now the Gravity Sketch community is formed by industrial designers, automotive designers, footwear designers, concept artists in the entertainment world, some other people that are looking to create and express themselves. And so we have a lot of feedback, and we get a lot of feedback from these people. Who are we targeting next? Well, like we tend not to think about like targeting people, but like how are we enabling this design workflow to happen? And if you think about the design workflow, you are not thinking, and I mentioned it at the beginning of this section, is we know and we understand that design is not a solo activity, and it's also not meant to be done just by designers. Design is a conversation that requires a lot of people to be part of. And so this is kind of like our main focus at the moment, which is how do we bring these voices to the table? How do we bring these conversations to the initial moments of creation and collaboration and ideation, where things can be discussed, things can be ideated, and like from the very beginning, meaning that projects can speed up quite a bit, because you're solving a lot of things on the go, and you're having really interesting conversations with real three-dimensional objects in front of you. So long answer to saying, designers are some of the people that are using Gravity Sketch, but we also have people in the marketing teams, people in the business segments, people, engineers, developers, people working in the factories, people having to be connected, from one part of the world to the other part of the world, and we're looking to enable this collaboration and communication. All right, I'll write this option. There's so many questions. You would love. I would love to use a Mac desktop version when I need a break from the VR headset. What is the update on that?
Yeah, I can give a quick update. It's something that we are trying to work on. It would be, not VR, because Mac doesn't really support VR at the moment. And we're basically trying to figure out some combination of the web viewer that works on landing pad, and also a way to join collaboration sessions from the Mac desktop application. But in terms of like release timelines or something like that, it's not clear. But at the same time, we almost have a prototype of it that's ready. And if there is anyone who is interested in being like one of the early users of that, particularly if they're trying to use it in a workflow or like their daily jobs or something like that, it'd be really interesting to get in. Like if you guys could reach out and get in touch, we are going to start looking for people to test that out with us and to build it with us.
For anyone that doesn't know, we have a Discord channel. Will be Darren, if you can help us post the link to it, and in there you can basically like be speaking with the entire product team of Gravity Sketch. So do join. Here's a comment, not a question. iPad is so useful for apparel and for the future of young designers. Please don't let it fall behind. We'll do our best. Here you go. Ability to reference geometry in Rhino and Grasshopper would be amazing. All right. Like yeah, big moment of silence, but I'm just like reading really quickly through all of them.
I did see one comment somewhere about pass-through support. Pass-through support is absolutely something we're going to do for sure. We already had a working prototype of it actually. The only problem is that, as far as I know right now, Oculus still don't let people publish that feature to production. They're still waiting on some fixes or issues from their side. So when Oculus give us the green light and the go ahead, we should be able to release that into Gravity Sketch. Yeah, it's on the way, but I think it's still not our fault that we can't release it.
Yeah, there's a lot of also questions about integrations, like integration with Rhino. There's one here for SketchUp, like more seamless integrations. I mean,
yeah, seamless is really hard, particularly with like Quest on desktop. It might be more doable. I think we always want workflows to be fluid and easy, and definitely importing and exporting files in Gravity Sketch right now is not that fun, and we want to make that better. But probably for the short term, like it's going to be based on importing and exporting files rather than like a specific direct integration with anyone's actual software right now. But it's something we want to work on in the future, so that people don't have to use a third program where they have to export from Alias into Blender to make an OBJ or whatever it is, I don't know, but to try and at least make a direct workflow between all the software. is something we want to achieve. But yeah, working with other file formats is really hard because they're kind of other people's stuff and other people's code, and they can have all sorts of features that Gravity Sketch has no understanding of. So it's challenging again, but we know it's not great, or we know there's definitely many workflows that aren't great and we want to make better.
There are a lot of questions about sculpting. What about that? Like, do we have any plans to bring sculpting into Gravity Sketch?
It's another one where I think it's going to be a very long-term project, or it depends, because there's two kinds of ways I can see sculpting. Well, some of the questions meant like maybe more sub-D tools, I imagined, and I think we definitely want to iterate and make like sub-D v2 or v3 really soon, that gives more than just creasing and like more interesting ways to manipulate the control mesh and that kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of like sculpting like Adobe Medium, again, I think it's something we really want to do one day, but it's really hard. Again, it's a whole new kind of geometry. We'd need, all kinds of crazy stuff. I think one day Gravity Sketch will have that in it. I just can't promise when at all. Yeah, another one actually I saw in the chat was a selection tool, which I imagine is probably on a lot of people's minds too. Selection tool is definitely going to happen, I promise. Yeah, we haven't got an exact implementation yet, but we want to make it very fluid and very easy to access. As easy to access as the grab sphere, but with much more power. And so again, I don't have any timeline, but we will definitely, I promise, add selection tools. It will definitely happen. It's just a matter of when.
Nice. Well, I think, yeah, we're reaching to the end of the session. I think we could continue with just a lot of like these questions, and we always love to answer them and have conversations around them. As I mentioned, there is a Discord channel that you guys can join to continue this conversation with Daniel, with Gokcen, and with the rest of the product team, and with the rest of Gravity Sketch, because we're always everyone there. We're obsessed with speaking with with users. And so thank you so much, Gokcen and Daniel, for joining this session, and thank you everyone that is watching. Do tune in for the next sessions. They're really going to be like so interesting, and they're like so diverse. And when it comes to like 3D workflows. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, feel free to drop any questions on Discord if you have any more burning questions that we didn't get time for. I'm always on there.
All right, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.